शुक्लांबरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुसाक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। वज्रनानन्दनं वीरं जानकी शोकनाशनं कपीशमग्रहन्तारं वन्दे लङ्काभयङ्करम्। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। Namaskaram. Welcome to the 20th session of Narayaniyam. We saw earlier Kapila-avataram and Kapila Gita in 3 sessions, at the end of which some devotees have requested that we talk about all other important avatars of Supreme Brahman, the Pramanam or scriptural authority, and why the commonly known as Dasa-avatArams have eclipsed other avatars in common parlance. As I have said many times over the years, the Bhagavata Puranam is the authentic place describing, albeit briefly, the 24 avatars or incarnations, including the universal form of Purusha and his creation, namely Hiranyagarbha. Why such avatars became necessary if God is said to be eternal and omnipresent is also discussed there in Srimad Bhagavatam. Why then so many incarnations, and is there any periodicity or compulsion for that many? Why only 10 have been carved out as prime avatars are called Dasa-avatars, and why the remaining are rarely spoken of or remaining obscure? Let us look at all these questions as briefly as possible. A detailed outline and anecdotal reasons are the triggers for each of those avatars. Even a few sentences on each one of them would require more than 40 to 60 minutes each per incarnation. Let me attempt completion of all 22 incarnations in maybe 2 to maximum 3 sessions, and then proceed to Naranarayana Avatara as detailed in Dasakam 16 of Narayaniyam by Narayana Bhattadri. But today, let us focus on the list of 22, which is authentically followed, time immemorial, from Srimad Bhagavatam. Canto 1, Chapter 3 summarizes the list of all the incarnations in 44 slokams. Ajopi sannhavyayatma bhutanam ishwaropi sanne prakritim swamadhishtaya sambhavami atmamayaya. Prakritim swamadhishtaya sambhavami atmamayaya. Yada yada hi dharmasya ग्लानिर्भवति भारत अभ्युत्थानमधर्मस्य tadatmanam srujamyaham abhyuttanam adharmasya tadatmanam srujamyaham tadatmanam srujamyaham. Ajopi san avyayatma bhutanam ishwaropi san prakritim swam adhishtaya sambhavami atma mayaya. Sakshat Brahman has spoken here about the peculiarity of his birth. Although he may appear like an ordinary person, Brahman remembers everything of his many millions of his births, whereas a common man cannot remember what he has done even a few days, if not a few hours earlier. If someone is asked what he or she did exactly at the same time the day before, he or she would struggle to answer immediately. One has to dredge his or her memory to recall what that person was doing the day before. And yet men dare proclaim to self-anoint as Sadguru, Jagadguru, and God, and Krishna, etc. The Vedas also confirm that the Supreme Brahman is unborn, yet he still takes his birth in multi-manifestations. Therefore, the Lord is always the same absolute truth and is without differentiation between his form and his self, or between his quality and the body. A question then gets raised as to why he, the Brahman, appears and disappears in this world over billions of years in constant cycles. This is also explained in the next verse in Bhagavad Gita. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuttanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. Krishna answers this question which we raised earlier to Arjuna. O the descendant of Bharata, whenever and wherever there is a decline in dharma and a predominant rise of adharma, at that time I descend myself, come down as an incarnation. For millions of doubters living here, like us, this question would come to our minds. Is it not time? Yes. Only he has to decide and will then descend in a form he cannot even imagine. For millions of doubters living here, like us in the current era, this question would come to our minds. Have not things worsened to the point that it is time that he appears now in a newer incarnation? Yes, it may be true, but he has to decide about the time and when he will descend in a form that you cannot even imagine. As he said to Arjuna, one has to have faith for that to happen. The word Srujami is significant herein. Srujami cannot be used in the sense of creation because, according to the previous verse in the same chapter 6, there is no creation of Bhagavan's form or body since all of the forms are eternally existent. Ajopi san, avyayatma bhutanam ishwaropi san, prakritim swam adhishtaya sambhavami atma mayaya. They are all already there. He doesn't have to make a special effort to suddenly create one. Although the Lord appears on schedule, namely at the end of the Dwapara Yuga of the 28th millennium of the 7th Manu in one day of Brahma, Bhagavan has no obligation to adhere to such rules and regulation and timing because he is completely free to act in many ways at his own will. He therefore appears by his own will whenever there is a predominance of adharma, irreligiosity, and a disappearance of dharma. Principles of dharma are laid down in the Vedas, and any discrepancy in the matter of properly executing the rules of the Vedas makes one and the environment irreligious. In the Bhagavatam, it is stated that such principles are the laws of the Lord. Only the Lord can create or modify a system of religion or the code. The Vedas are also accepted as originally spoken by Bhagavan himself to Brahma, who is his own son and his creation, from within his heart. Therefore, the principles of Dharma or religion are the direct orders of the Supreme Brahman. Dharmam tu sakshat bhavat pranitam. Dharmam tu sakshat bhavat pranitam. Navai viduhu rushayona api devaha. Dharmam tu sakshat bhavat pranitam. Navai viduhu rushayona api devaha. Na siddha mukhya asura manushyaha kuto anuvidyadara sharanadayaha. Na siddha mukhya asura manushyaha kuto anuvidyadara sharanadayaha. Paritranaya sadhunam Paritranaya sadhunam Vinasaya cha dushkritam Dharma samsthapanarthaya Sambhavami yuge yuge Dharma samsthapanarthaya Sambhavami yuge yuge. Dharmam tu sakshat bhavat pranitam navai viduhu rushayoho na api devaha na siddha mukhya asura manushyaha kutonu vidyadara charanadayaha. Real principles of code are enacted by the Brahman. Although purified and saintly, even the great rishis who occupy the highest positions cannot ascertain the real principles of code. The purpose of the Vedas is to establish such principles under the order of the Supreme Brahman, and nevertheless, Bhagavan directly orders at the end of Bhagavad Gita that the highest principle of religion is to surrender unto him totally and nothing more is required. The Vedic principles push one towards complete surrender or sharanagati to him. And whenever such principles are disturbed by the demonic world or surroundings, Bhagavan appears repeatedly, as I said earlier, again and again and again. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. To protect the soft, gentle and divine, to deliver the pious and to finally annihilate the miscreants or demonic creatures, as well as to re-establish or reiterate the principles of dharma and to re-establish the human codes of conduct. I myself appear millennium after millennium. We should not go by the word yuga here and start doing mathematical calculations such as 484,000 years, once, twice of that, thrice of that, and 4 times of that make the 4 different yugas, etc. An intent and purport of these should be, I will come in a visually perceptible form again and again. I do not have to wear a special dress or announce myself, okay, I have appeared and here is my incarnation. If the word avatara by etymology were to be so simplistically said, descend down, why do we assign this only to the Supreme Brahman? I happened to read a book of translation by Edmund C. Demock Jr. He was Professor Emeritus, University of Chicago, who did a summary and English translation of the Chaitanya Charitamrita of Krishnadasa Kaviraja. The Chaitanya Charitamrita is an early 17th century Bengali and Sanskrit biography of Chaitanya, by the poet and scholar Krishnadasa, who had the title Kaviraja, Prince of Poets, because of his special position as a Kavi. The text is of interest to theologians. Chaitanya was, in Krishnadasa's view, an androgyne of Krishna and Radha, and his theory was that aesthetic and religious experience are much the same in kind. Within Krishnadasa's long Charitamrita are embedded some lyrical gems. The following verses summarize these principles of incarnation. This is from Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, chapter 20. सृष्टि हेतु ये मूर्ति प्रपंचे सृष्टि हेतु ये मूर्ति प्रपंचे अवतारेशैः ईश्वर मूर्ति सृष्टि हेतु ये मूर्ति प्रपंचे अवतारे संगी ईश्वर मूर्ति अवतार नाम धरे मायातीत परव्योमे सभार अवस्थान विश्वे अवतारी धरे अवतार नाम मायातीत परव्योमे सभार अवस्थान विश्वे अवतारी धरे अवतार नाम भावयति येष सत्त्वेन लोकान् वै लोकभावनः लीलावतार अनुरतो देव लीलावतार अनुरतो देव लीलावतार अनुरता देव तिर्यग्नर आदिषु नरगादिषु शिष्ट हेतिये मूर्ति प्रपंचे अवतारेश ईश्वर मूर्ति अवतार नाम धरे मायातीत परव्योमे सभार अवस्थान विश्वे अवतारी धरे अवतार नाम. The avatara or incarnation of Brahman descends from the kingdom of Paramatma for material manifestation. And the particular form of the Brahman who so descends is called an incarnation or avatara. Such incarnations are situated in the spiritual world, namely the kingdom of God. When they descend to the material creation, they assume the name avatara. Okay, why then animals and half animals and human forms of shapes and sizes, why are they mentioned more often than others? Yes, Bhagavatam says there are more incarnations of Bhagavan than there are waves in the ocean. It is also said that Vishnu incarnates in all species of life. Bhavayati yesha sattvena lokan vai loka bhavanaha Leelavatara anurato devatiryak nara adishu. Thus the supreme Bhagavan of the universes maintains all planets inhabited by demigods, men, as well as the lower animals. Assuming the roles of similar incarnations, he performs Leela to reclaim those in the mode of pure goodness. The Lord does not change his original transcendental status, but he is differently manifested according to the particular time, circumstances, and the state of society. The 10 incarnations of Vishnu are of particular interest or commonplace because over a period of time, many of our teachers have pounded us with easy information, such as Bhagavan takes progressively more developed forms, starting from fish, tortoise, the amphibian, and boar to a partial lion, which is half animal, half man, and finally human form, starting from a dwarf to that of an indescribable cosmic size, etc., etc. This kind of an Englishman's explanation has been embedded, thanks to our slavery, for more than 250 years in the Indian education system that most of us have been exposed to. It has been for 100 years and will continue to be a regrettable attempt to compare Darwinism and elevate the theory of biological evolution enunciated by the 19th century English naturalist Charles Darwin and his protege Thomas Henry Huxley, another scientist who later coined the term Darwinism to explain the hypothesis or theory, including humans from humanoids and thanks to deformation of monkeys of different kinds. Since the common man from Bharat and overseas feels elated to explain our ancient evolution, mathematics, astronomy, and all other sciences through a prism of a Westerner's hypothesis and thesis, most of us are reluctant to go deeper into our own scriptures to know the real reason, which are very clearly laid out. But most of our true acharyas and rishis, over several hundred millennia, have been able to assert that God incarnates as an animal, often a supernatural one, just to highlight that animals are no different or no less important and have roles, if not more significant role to play in God's decision. They are not simply dumb beasts or livestock meant for satisfying human appetites and other needs. They are living expressions of the spirit, the jiva, and of the presence of the Lord Supreme in each one of them. This is one of the most special reasons for such progressive evolutionary incarnations. We should not forget that our Sanatana Dharma evolution scheme encompasses a trillion, if not a greater number of years of existence, and evolution from one deluge or total annihilation to an absolutely new creation. I talked about this elaborately on this aspect. As we saw in the various discourses on related topics, human beings and evolved humans have existed for millions of years. Hence, according to the Chaturayuga theory, the complex and progressive creation before all these creations and the later incarnations of fish, tortoise, boar, half lion, dwarf, etc., did not occasion in vacuum or as predicted by the Western scholars of a recent time. On July 2nd this year, I read this CNN news, which I'm going to quote verbatim. Grapes have been intertwined with the story of humanity for millennia. When an asteroid struck Earth 66 million years ago, mind it, when an asteroid struck the Earth 66 million years ago, it wiped out the massive lumbering animals and set the stage for other creatures and plants to thrive in the aftermath. Now, the discovery of fossilized grape seeds in Colombia, Panama, and Peru that range from 19 million years to 60 million years old is shedding light on how these humble fruits captured a foothold in Earth's dense forests and eventually established a global presence. On July 6th, the same CNN promoted this news item also. Researchers first identified Denisovans in 2010 using DNA sequences extracted from a rare tiny fragment of finger bone found in Siberia. Now, Baishya Karst Cave on the northeastern edge of the Tibetan plateau is helping answer many questions about who the Denisovans were. Archaeologists have examined a jaw and rib bone found at the cave site, along with thousands of animal bone fragments retrieved during excavations in 2018 and 2019. The analysis shedding light and how the extinct humans thrived in the Ice Age environment for more than 100,000 years. Look at the remarkable irony. Thus, most of the residents of Bharat and exiled folks settled abroad for about 60 plus years strongly take the above words coming from news media in the Western world as the ultimate proof of human existence, but cannot invest even a few hours to read or listen to authentic dissertations, patience to absorb, and show willingness to believe that our theory, namely Bharat's time theory known as Yuga theory, evolution, and all other remarkable human achievements of Indians over the last 100,000 years. We don't have the patience to even understand or study all of them. But we are willing to take the news items when the numbers are thrown like 19 million years, 60 million years, 66 million years, 100,000 years of ice age environment, etc., etc. But we have a completely different absorption level when it comes to information from Bharat. Please go to Google and type and get the surprise in Wikipedia list of Indian inventions and discoveries. You will be astonished, if not startled, that how much has the subcontinent of India has contributed to human civilization all around the world. If our younger generation, which is now the only hope, has no clue of these remarkable achievements and inventions handed down by Bharat to the world on a platter, how can they appreciate our scriptures or even know about such existence? Some of the well known branches of science and human existence, such as agriculture, construction, civil engineering and architecture, finance and banking, games, textile and material production, equestrianism, health and well being, metallurgy, gems and commodities, metrology, philosophy and logic, weapons, mathematics and linguistics, and mining and space. My God, this list is ridiculously small, I would say. Getting back on track on avatars, these necessary incarnations occurred amidst periodic chaos caused by disorganized and avaricious humans formerly classified as asuras, demons, and at the behest of devas or good natured creations. For better understanding in today's terms, instead of calling asuras and gods, bad and good humans would do. Thus, drawing parallel to Darwinism, which is seemingly the influence on human race now, even by enthusiastic professors of zoology and anthropology, which I happened to read a dozen years ago, is not only childish and misplaced passion resulting in insulting a Vedic evolution, but also it does not add any unneeded validity to our historical and spiritual literature. Only a radical change in the outlook of Indians inside and outside of Bharat, sincerity and dedication to bring significant improvements in the Indian education system, to teach scriptural and other excellence mentioned above to the current and future generations can change the apathy in India and amidst the overseas exiles like most of us. There are two groups of these 24 incarnations, known as principal avatars. If you set aside the indescribable and eternal Parabrahman and his son, the creator Brahma or Hiranyagarbha, we are then left with 22 avatars, and out of which the Dasa-avatArams often mentioned by many discerning humans as commencing with fish, a protozoan growing to be a giant, followed by humongous tortoise or kurma, which is neither a mammal nor an amphibian, as had been misclassified, especially as per modern day zoologists and anthropologists. They should be classified as reptiles with eggs and hatchlings, etc. They are disqualified to be mammals. Also, young tortoises hatch on land and are born with lungs instead of gills. Then a cosmic boar, a half lion, young human boy mistaken to be a dwarf by erroneous description, followed by other human incarnations, all descended the repeated prayers of the oppressed celestials and citizens of Bharat. Ironically, the remaining 12 out of the 22 incarnations occur in between these so-called Dasa-avatArams, and common man has truly little understanding of the purpose and history of those incarnations. Hence the prominence to the oft-quoted 10 incarnations, Dasa-avatArams, specifically obliged by the Supreme Brahman at specific requests and regular intervals. Ignoring the disputable evolution theories, there are no official authority or quotes from Puranas or spiritual literature as to why these 10 avatars are more important than the other 12 avatars mentioned in the sacred Bhagavatam. One of those remaining 12 incarnations is Vyasa, the most revered Dharmadhikari, Vedic scholar who reclassified and codified the Chaturvedas, unparalleled historian, and causal, if not deliberate, creation by the Brahman. We'll be seeing more on Vyasa a bit later in this series. Stated differently, when the Supreme Brahman felt that his creation should have many extraordinary qualities, including scriptural and literary sanctions to attain eternal place pre and post Naimittika Pralaya, or the ultimate deluge, he decided to descend down rather than add yet another Rishi, Brahma or Rudra. Vyasa, born at the advent of the third of the four yugas, namely Dwapara Yuga, is believed to have reborn in Kali Yuga thrice already, and the first such Kali avatara is Jayadeva, when the Lord himself obliges Vyasa to be born as Jayadeva's consort to guide and lead him towards his new goals. Jayadeva, the 11th century poet, pens an exquisite literature of 24 songs, Chaturvimsati Geetam, and Sri Krishna, the great consort Radha, rarely mentioned, if not often omitted in most of the other Puranas. This symbolic poetry is only about one aspect of Krishna, and Jayadeva introduces a Sakhi or a friend to do the job of a Guru or Acharya, reiterating the concept of the three for spiritual evolution. What are the three? The Atman, Jiva, and the conduit, Acharya, helping the Jiva to reach Atman. Jayadeva lists out in his divine Kavyam, Ashtapadis, the Dasa-avatArams.
Vedanudharate Jagannivagate Bhugolamudviprade Vedanudharate Jagannivagate Bhugolamudviprade Daityam Dharayate Balim Chalayate Daityam Dharayate Balim Chalayate Kshatrakshayam Kurvate Dasakriti krite Krishnaya 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 Tubhyam Namaha Krishnaya 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 Krishna.
Vedan Uddarate Jagan Nivakate Bhugolam Udbitprate Daityam Dharayate Balim Chalayate Shaptakshayam Kurvate Paulastyam Jayate Halam Kalayate Karunyamatanvate Mlechan Murchayate Dashakritikirte Krishnaya Tubhyam Namaha. Noteworthy of the fact is great acharyas do not attribute Krishna as one of the Dasa-avatArams. And as you can see from above, all the above avatars, including Buddha, are believed to be incarnations of the Purna Brahma or Paramatma Shri Krishna, who reincarnates repeatedly to bless his devotees at their behest. As a prelude, let us listen to the Dasha-avatara Ashtapadi, the first of 24 Gita Govindam masterpieces by Jayadeva.
Pralaya Payodi Jale Kesava Pralaya Payodi Jale Kesava Kritavanati Vedam Kesava Pralaya Payodi Jale Kesava Kritavanati Vedam Kesava Vihita Mahidra Shidira Devi बलिमद्भुत वामन चलयसि विक्रमणे केशवा बलिमद्भुत वामन पदकर नीरज निज जनवावन पदकर नीरज जनित जन पावन केशवाधृत वामन रूप केशवाधृत वामन रूप जय जगदीश हरे केशवा जय जगदीश हरे क्षत्रिय रुधिरमये केशवा जगत भगत केशवा क्षत्रिय रुधिरमये केशवा जगत भगत केशवा स्नपयसि पयसि समित भवतापं स्नपयसि पयसि समित भवतापं केशवाधृत भृगुपति रूप केशवाधृत भृगुपति रूप जय जगदीश केशवा जय जगदीश चूरणे केशवा दीपदिगमने केशवा दशमुखमौलि बलिं रमणीयं दशमुखमौलि बलिं रमणीयं केशवाधृत रघुपति रूप केशवाधृत रघुपति रूप जय जगदीश हरे केशवा जय जगदीश वाघ शिव पुषि विशते केशवा वसनं जलदानं केशवा वाघ शिव पुषि विशते केशवा वसनं जलदानं केशवा अलगति वीति मिलित यमुनाभं अलगति वीति मिलित यमुनाभं केशवाधृत हलधर रूप केशवाधृत हलधर रूप जय जगदीश हरे केशवा जय जगदीश निंदजिय ज्ञविते केशवा अनग श्रुति जातो केशवा निंदजिय ज्ञविते केशवा अनग श्रुति जातो केशवा सदय हृदय दासित पशुघातं सदय हृदय दासित पशुघातं केशवाधृत बुध शरीर केशवाधृत बुध शरीर जय जगदीश हरे केशवा जय जगदीश हरे क्लेश निवहनिधने केशवा कलयसि केशवा वहनिधने केशवा कालयसि केशवा धूमकेतुमिव किमपि कराणो धूमकेतुमिव हेतुमिव किमपि कराळं केशवाकृत कल्कि शरीर केशवाकृत कल्कि शरीर जय जगदीश हरे केशवा जय जगदीश हरे श्री जय देव कवे केशवारितमुदितमुदा श्री जय देव कवे केशवारितमुदितमुदा केशवा श्री जय देव कवे केशवारितमुदितमुदा केशवा शृणु सुखदं सुभदं भवसारं शृणु सुखदं सुखदं भवसारं केशवादृत दशविधरूप केशवादृत दशविधरूप केशवादृत दशविधरूप जय जगदीश केशवा जय जगदीश केशवा जय जगदीश केशवा जय जगदीश
प्रलय पयोधि जले धृतवानसि वेदं विहित बहित्र चरित्रम अखेदं केशवा धृत मीन शरीर जय जगदीश हरे. The word Keshava is believed to represent etymologically a formation of Kaha, Isha, Va, where Kaha is Brahma, Isha is Shiva, Va born from Vishnu. Tayeti Brahmano nama Isho aham sarvadehinam avamta ange sambhutau tasmad Keshavo namavan. This is Nirukta Bhashyam. Thus, Brahma and Shiva are born from the body of Vishnu. O Jagadisha, you are the controller of all words, and when they have become uncontrollable, you set them in order. That too, indefatigably, hence we are reassured of your presence. Hari is the one who steals away the troubles of his adherents. Now let us see some of the dance gestures for this stanza from Nritya Lakshana Samhita. Pralaya pataka upari parimardhita patakena gagana drishtyacha payodhi jale adaha swastiki krita vichyuta urdvatala patakabhyam dritavanasi ado deshat uddruta mushtina vedam purastala nikunchakena vihita chanaihi adhara talikrita mushtikena vahitra chalita angushtakara prasharita pushpavushtena charitram prasarita urdvatala patakena akhedam hrid gata patakena mukulaya drishtyacha keshava keshava bandhena drita avartanena krita mushtina meena sharira makara hastakena jaya uddhrita hastakena jagadisha lalatastana anjalina hare vishnava sthanakena iti ditya lakshana samhitaha. Shitirati vipuladare tavatishthati pushte dharani dharanakena chakra garishte jaya jagadisha hare. Tishtati is the tense of Vartamana Nirdesha, present continuous. So the earth is on the back of the tortoise even today. Vasati Dashana Shikare Dharani Tava Lagna Shashini Kalanka Kalevani Magna Keshavadrita Sukara Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Krishna, earth, and wild boar are black. While boar's fang and crescentic moon-like fang are white, while the earth is spinning on the tip of fang, its blackness is appearing as a deer mark in the moon. The earth is, in a way, a blemish to God, for he created it, but it separated itself from him, and its inmates always do certain deeds that bring more blemishes to him. The gods do not come into physical contact with the earth and earthlings. If gods have an errand on earth, they have to transmogrify their forms to dwell on earth. If any earthling goes into the realm of gods, it's a blemish on the gods who entertain them. Here, blemish or otherwise, Hari is bearing earth on his fang. Tava Karakamala Nakam Adbhuta Shrungam Dalita Hiranya Kashiputanu Bringam Keshava Drita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare. It is usual for a honey bee to sting and lacerate delicate lotuses for nectar. But lotus lacerating back thick-skinned honeybee is unusual. Though the palms of God are like delicate pearls and petals, though the palms of God are like delicate petals of lotus, they have very sharp and slashing tips of fingernails like the claws of lion, only to bisect thick-skinned vice called monstrosity. Hence, those tips of fingernails ever shine forth as a warning for evil. Chalayasi Vikramane Palim Adbhuta Vamana Pada Naka Neera Janita Jana Pavana Keshavadrita Vamana Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare. When Vishnu took incarnation of a small boy, he sought donation of a 3-foot space from Emperor Bali Chakravarti. And Bali, being never a naysayer, humbly accorded it. Then the little man covered the entire earth with 1 foot, the rest of the worlds, including Akasha, with the second, and asked Bali where to keep his 3rd foot. Bali shows his head in all humility. And the boy places his 3rd foot on the head of Bali only to bless him, but asking him also to retire to the nether worlds on a very peaceful and polite, compassionate manner. In doing so, when that boy raises his foot to cover heavens, his toe goes straight to the presence of Brahma. Observing that toe as his father Vishnu's toe, Brahma anoints it with sacred waters. When Vamana withdrew his foot from heaven to place it on Bali's head, sacred water poured on that sacred toenail by Brahma rushed onto earth as river Ganga. Kshatriya Rudiramaye Jagat Apagata Papam Snapayasi Payasi Shamita Bhavatapam Keshavadritam Brugupati Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Incidentally, as many may be aware, Duryodhana was killed at Shamanta Panchakaya in Kurukshetra, as said in Salya Parva, chapter 89, verse 40. Here in this slokam it says, assuming the demeanor of Parashurama, the savior of the world, O Keshava, you filled the 5 lakes known as Samanta Panchaka, dug at Kurukshetra to propitiate his Pitrus with the blood of atrocious Kshatriya kings and making it a holy Kshetra for the future generations to bathe in and remember the Purana, thus ridding the world of torrid people. Vitarasi Dikshurane Digbati Kamaniyam Dashamukha Mauli Balim Ramaniyam Keshavadrita Rama Sharira Jaya Jagadisha Hare. This act of offertory was especially pleasing because there are 10 presiding deities of quarters and Ravana had 10 heads, and the sacrifice thus was symmetrical. Hence pleasing to us and even to those 10 deities like Vayu, Agni, and Varuna and the like. Ravana was a terror to those 10 gods, and it is said that whenever Ravana came out, Vayu feared to be gusty, Agni became coolant, not a drop of rain fell on his body, so say the scriptures. Pahasi Vapushi Visadevasanam Jaladabham Halahati Bhiti Milita Yamunabham Keshava Adrita Haladara Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare. The story behind this particular sloka is once Balarama laid hold of river Yamuna to gratify his desire, and when Yamuna ignored his beckoning, Balarama beleaguered her. This incident is narrated by Sukata Parikshit in Srimad Bhagavatam 10th Canto, chapter 65. Balarama changed the course of her flow by digging a mammoth tunnel with the tip of his plow. Scared Yamuna pleads, Rama Rama Mahabhago Najane Tava Vikramam Yasya Ekamshena Vidrida Jagadi Jagatapate. This is the 28th sloka and 65th chapter of the Dasamaskandam. Here Rama Rama is about Balarama. Rama, Rama, O mighty armed one, I know nothing of your prowess, and hence my impertinence. With a single amsa of yourself, you hold up the earth, O Lord of the universe. Acharyas confirm that Ekamsa here means one aspect of the Lord, Sesha being praised. Parambhavam Bhagavato Bhagavan Mam Ajanatim Muktumargachi Vishwatman Prapannam Bhaktavatsala. O my Lord, please release me. O soul of the universe, I did not understand your position as the supreme Brahman, but now I have surrendered unto you, and you are always kind to your devotees. Thus, Yamuna is always fearful of Balarama, as she is unaware as to how many more tunnels Balarama would dig by a single scratch by the tip of his plow and alter her course eternally. That's the story, as you see in Srimad Bhagavatam. Nindati yajna videhe Keshava ahaha shruti jatam sadaya hridaya darshita pasughatam Keshavadrita Buddha Sharira Jai Jagadisha Hare. Assuming the body of kind-hearted Buddha, O Keshava, you found fault with the animal sacrifices in the part of Vedic rituals followed through scriptures, and even with the collection of those scriptural words themselves. What a revamp in religious methods! Ahaha! Whereby, O Hari, as a modifier of system, you are the Almighty of the worlds. Mlecha nivaha nidhane kalayasi karavalam dhumaketumiva kimapikaralam Keshavadrita kalki sharira jaya jagadishagare. The appearance of a comet in the sky is a bad omen, and when that comet hits the earth, it is still worse. And when Kalki brandishes his sword as gods brandish comets, it is unimaginable, and that suggests the end of the Manvantara. Next, the poet is mingling all of those incarnations into Krishna's incarnation to reiterate his own original statement along with an appeal to listen to his poetry in his glory. This Jayadeva's 11th poem in that Ashtapadi. Sri Jayadeva Kavehe Idam Udita Mudaram Shrunu Sukadam Subhadam Bhavasaram Keshavadrita Dashavita Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare. O Keshava, O Hari, the Almighty of worlds who assume 10 kinds of forms for the sake of humanity. I pray, listen to this auspicious articulation by Jayadeva, which has an excellent pith and kernel of worldly living, and will be an aid for blissful and blithesome release from this world. Hail to thee, O Keshava, Jagadisha. With his final stanza, the poet Jayadeva is dedicating his work in his God and asking him to bear testimonies for his work. And if Krishna endorses his work, this will be as good as being canonized by him, so that this work will become a valid devotional poetry. The poet is summarizing all these incarnations that are so far said separately. As all the regular satsangis may recollect, we already briefly dealt with the primary incarnations of Purusha and Hiranyagarbha, then Varaha Avatara and Kapila Avatara so far. We will soon start Naranayana incarnation in Dasakam 16, Narasimha Avatara in Dasakam 25, Vamana Avatara in Dasakam 30, Matsya in 32, Sri Rama by 34 and 35, Parashurama by 36 Dasakam, before focusing on Krishna's form and birth from Dasakam's 37 through the end of Narayaniyam, the 100th Dasakam. We will, due to paucity of time, stop at this point and start in the next session as to how Srimad Bhagavatam describes the remaining of the 24 incarnations. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Guruvayurappa